Pornography is one of the only drugs in the world where you are considered weird if you don't look at it, if you don't partake in it. We do realize that 90% of men and around 50 to 60% of women go to pornography at least once per month. We live in a world where lust is so normalized, where watching two people having sex on a screen is something that almost every single person does on a monthly basis. Let that sink in. Pornography is wicked, it is disgusting, it is perverting, and it is an abomination unto the Lord. Today I'm going to be showing you certain famous people, influencers, actors, musicians, all types of people who are against the porn industry, and some of them, their testimony about how they overcame pornography and how they feel about porn, masturbation, and lust in general. So let's get into it. It's gonna be a good video. Watch this all the way to the end. Let's get into it.
I wrote an entire book back in 2005 that went largely ignored called Porn Generation about the impact that pornography was having on young men, in particularly the desensitization of men to how women ought to be treated, turning them into basically a series of body parts as opposed to treating them as holistic human beings, how this is part of the generalized sexual revolution. So there are all sorts of studies that demonstrate that this leads to relationship and sexual insufficiency later, and it ain't good. The way that it has integrated into so many really young people's lives, I'm talking like young teens, it ain't good. What percentage of American males do you think are addicted to porn at this point?
It's a giant percentage.
It's got to be 50%.
When I was a kid, you passed around the porn mat. You know what I mean? That's what you did. Now you have a computer and the stuff that you have access to, man, it's like, man, it's not any, you are seeing the most violent, most degrading, most heinous crimes against women. You know what I mean? And some people, they call them nuisance crimes, you know, or you know what they call it? Victimless crime. But I've never seen a crime that was victimless. Think about it. The term itself doesn't work. Listen, it's not easy at first because you just go, what else am I gonna do? But I had to literally write down things that I was going to do instead of watch pornography. It was that simple. It was like, okay, I am going to read a book right now. And I'll be on the first paragraph like, ah.
But it takes, one thing that I've found, Terry, and give me your opinion, is once you say no one time, it's powerful, right? Yeah. It allows you, you realize you can say no, right? Because for so long you're just, I can't say no. And then once you say no, it's empowering.
But see, like I said, remember what I just said? I said, I'm reading that first paragraph. Second paragraph is interesting.
There we go.
Third one, I'm like, wow.
Yeah.
By the 10th page, I forgot all about what I would normally do. So, this thing is a major problem. I literally had to go to rehab for it. And the thing what I found is that by not telling people, it becomes more powerful. But when you tell, and when you put it out there in the open, just like I'm doing right now, to the whole world, it loses its power. And everybody wants you to keep this little secret. Don't tell anybody. Don't whisper in this and this. I'm telling. And I'm putting it out there. Let me tell you something. You know, I've been free of this thing probably going on 6-7 years now. Thank goodness. But now it's become my battle to help other people who are going through the same thing. Now I know, again, you're on the internet. If you don't have this problem, it's okay. A lot of people don't. But there are a lot of people who can't stop. And I'm here to help you. You can talk to me. Now, some of you may not agree. Please tell me what you think. But my issue was, and is with pornography, is that it changes the way you think about people. People become objects. People become, you know, body parts. They become things to be used rather than people to be loved. And it really, you know, you start to change the way you see people, and you start to use people. You start to feel like, you know, you're the man and they're just, you know, whatever.
As a woman, I think porn is a disgrace. And I used to watch a lot of porn, to be honest. I started watching porn when I was like 11. I thought that's how you learned how to have sex. I was watching abusive porn, to be honest, you know, when I was like 14. And I thought I was one of the guys and would talk about it and think I was really cool for not having a problem with it and not seeing why it was bad. And I think it really destroyed my brain. And I feel incredibly devastated that I was exposed to so much porn. I think that I had like sleep paralysis and these like almost like night terror / just nightmares because of it. I think that's how they started, because I would just watch abusive BDSM. I couldn't watch anything else, like unless it was violent. I like didn't think it was attractive, and I was a virgin. I had never done anything.
And do you have any advice on what to do with porn and masturbation? The less porn, the better. That's my advice. But let's make that more specific. To the degree that use of porn and masturbation is undermining your sense of yourself and providing you with a dearth of motivational reasons to get out there and engage with a real partner, then it's definitely not in your best interest, and that's what your conscience is telling you. And it's the expedient at the expense of the meaningful. Obviously, right? Obviously, there isn't any more obvious manifestation of the expedient at the expense of the meaningful than pornography and masturbation. And that's hardly a heroic path. So maybe the less of it, the better.
Said, look, any form of perversion is bad in God's eyes. Any form of pornography, like, it tears apart families. It's used to tear families apart. If it's a dad looking at what, Pornhub, he's still looking at somebody's daughter. And a lot of the women that end up in pornography are actually products of molestation. And they're reliving that trauma every time they get on camera. So in Hollywood, people say, okay, this is right, but this is wrong. It's all wrong in God's eyes.
Different layers to trafficking. Like for me, Playboy was my gateway into full-on pornography addiction. My dad had a Playboy left out at age 5. And it's affected almost every choice I made for the rest of my life, from age 5 to now having to kick the habit. And it just presents itself in the open, like it's okay. And I stand up and say, it's not okay.
I didn't ever think that, watching porn and, doing drugs was gonna have me one day talking to you. But I'm here now. And I think that's what drugs and porn did that to me. It took me away from being present. You always want to be present in your loved one's life. Me and my girlfriend only been together for a couple of months, and it almost killed our love.
I try to stay off of pornography, man. That's one of my biggest arch nemesis is pornography.
Why?
Because it just weakens me. Yeah.
How so?
I put all my sexual, my fantasies and stuff, they're not mine anymore. They live, somebody created them better than my imagination can. And so they live in these, on the internet in these boxes. And it's like, and if it's not mine, I think, then I don't value it as much or something. And so I think it like weakens my ability to like be able to have sex and like be comfortable in that sort of world. And
really?
Oh yeah.
Weakens your ability to be comfortable. Like how so?
Well, because I get used to watching the sex and seeing it and not having to like be engaged with my actual feelings or anything. So then I see it and I still get all the joys out of it.
I don't look at it one day at a time because I don't think it's good. I think it, when you play a computer game for much too long, don't know what that was, it's wrong with typing, football management probably, then when you come out, don't you think I should be able to get into cars and go, like if you watch too much porn, I think it tunes you too much into people's capacity as a sexual sort of lump. And I think that's good for me at any rate. And I don't think porn's good in general. I was reading something yesterday in The Guardian. It said like men looking at porn in public, but it's become so normal just to look at porn. I find it too much, you know, like it's too disturbing and unsettling and fascinating and exciting for me to look at, and it biases my opinion on what human beings are and how we should treat each other. So, like, I'm not like a person who's puritanical and doesn't fit and thinks that people should be able to do what they want. But, you know, do what you want. I don't care as long as you're not hurting anyone. But I think porn hurts everyone involved. The people that are doing it, the people that are watching it.
There's an additional issue with pornography, which is not often discussed, which is that, remember, guys in particular, the brain is a learning prediction machine. And if, I'm not trying to say that all pornography is bad, but there are good data to support the idea that if your brain learns to be aroused by watching other people have sex, it is not necessarily going to carry over to the ability to get aroused when you're one-on-one with somebody else, right? Especially young kids who are consuming a lot of pornography, the brain is learning sexual arousal to other people having sex.
So you're going to program yourself into being a voyeur?
Or just create challenges in sexual interactions with with peers, with a real partner. Right?
Mary Harrington has the 3 laws of pornodynamics, and the second law of pornodynamics is the law of fap entropy. And it says that whatever you start out wanking to will get progressively more intense over time. And I think that this is sort of speaking to that ever sort of escalating amount of the wildness that you need to watch in order to get an ever decreasing stimulus that comes back.
Yeah, and here I'm approaching this only through the lens of biology, right? I'm not a psychologist, and I'm certainly not political in any way. At least not. I have ideas about politics, but I just don't discuss them publicly. But the idea here is that I'm not saying pornography as a stimulus is bad or good. What I'm saying is it, in its availability and its extreme forms, it's a very potent stimulus, and very potent stimuli of any kind, extremely palatable food, extreme pornography, extreme experiences like bungee cord jumping, those set a threshold for dopamine release. And Anna will tell you that, and I'm sure she did, that the higher the dopamine peak, the bigger the drop afterwards. And it's not that you drop to baseline, you drop below baseline. So again, it's not, these things aren't good or bad, they just have to be controlled in a way, because when people are pursuing dopamine peaks over and over and over and they aren't getting them, typically it's because they've been pursuing that activity far too often.